I don't know what's going on with the multiple songs, but I'm here. It's the phenomenal Stemmis, guys. Good to see you all. We got the wives in the house. Let me let them in. Let me let them in. We have Connie and Sophia and Simone and Audra.
Audra.
Rebecca's
Hey.
Rebecca's she's here in spirit, but her video's not on for some reason. She's working on it. Hopefully she can work on it. I'll bring her in from time to time. But her video is not working, unfortunately. But she's here. She's here. Just greet the people. Hello, hello, hello. I see a lot of people going, hey, what's up, K Boogie? Hey. Why are we starting late? This is time is money, doc. Listen, I don't need your judgment. I don't need your judgment. Mom, what's up? How are you? Good to see everybody. Feel free. Tiffany McIntyre is here. They're watching. People are watching. They have questions. We're talking about part two. Why they said yes. Why they said yes. I'm so happy to see everybody here. First of all, I just want to thank the introvertish wives of the extrovertish husbands. It took a lot to get you guys on here. I know for sure. And so for you to say yes, it's greatly appreciated. Greatly, greatly
We
appreciated.
love you, Maya.
Hmm.
It's love, all love.
It had Connie was like, it's just cause I love you.
Period.
We actually like you today.
like, like. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. We'll jump right into it. Last 2 weeks ago, I talked to your husbands, and they gave such great answers about why they chose you as wives. You guys are great women. So I have a couple of questions as to why you said yes, and the questions aren't exactly the same, but there's some questions that were common. And the first question that's common is, did you have a list, and what was your top 5? So, people like me have lists, deal breakers, or non-negotiables, we call them, or lists. Did you guys have lists? And if you did, what were your top 5?
I think this is gonna make us look petty, but I had a list, but surprisingly, and I guess you're gonna learn about us through our list. But my list, he had to be Caribbean in some manner. It was really important to me growing up in South Florida, and I've dated some non-Caribbeans, but that was important for me because I really wanted him to connect with my family, and that was one of my top. I feel like I guess he had to be a Christian. Yes, he had to be professional, but I felt like that's not really on the list because that's just what you want. Like you're not really going to date outside of that. So, but that was one important for me. Um, yeah. So that was one of my top. Sorry.
Okay, okay. So there was common ones that just but expected. You don't even
Right.
have to include them on the list. But something that you had to write down specifically was a West Indian background, and that's something. Anyway, that's similar to me. It's not working out so well, 100%, but but there's something about the similar cultures that I desire for
I
sure.
needed it. Hmm.
Yeah, me too, me too. What about you guys?
Well, I could go next. I had a list, and then I will have to say, I guess as I got older, the list kind of changed,
Sure.
Mm,
and so by the time I met Ivan, I think it was more like, I wanted to be equally yoked, so not just Christian. Just being Christian wasn't going to be enough.
Mm.
I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but we
mhm.
had to kind of be on the same page with being Christian, you know
Yeah.
and family is very important to me, so I did want to see, actually, so it was, my list became like, I need to see how he interacts with his family, you
Mm.
know um I need to he needs to be kind of social because I'm social, and even though
Kinda.
I don't well, I
I
got more
I
than
am
I was looking for, but but I am social, and I don't compete with Ivan for that, but I know that I needed that, and I like that,
Mhm.
and then my other thing was I had to see how conflicts were resolved. And that was
Mm.
very important because I had dated other people before, obviously, and they didn't really know how to resolve conflict.
Mm,
So my list kind of changed as I got older.
What I'm
absolutely.
hearing is a lot of character things versus other types of how do I say what's the word?
Superficial, kind of
I
like
would
what
say
you look
superficial.
like.
Yeah, what you look like, other types of descriptions of people.
Right.
But you're right about the conflict. I mean, people just when they don't get what they want or they can't you can't see the eye to eye with people, they just up and walk away. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They don't want to deal with conflict, and that's like a big red flag. Can you just let's go through the conversation. Let's confront each other on this thing and do it constructively, as you said. Okay, who's next? Who's next? Rebecca, I'm gonna pull you in if I'll just put you on the side to answer the question if you'd like.
Okay, I guess I'll go. And I'm kind of in line with Audra. I think I had a list earlier in my dating life, and that definitely was not by the time I met my husband. I don't know what happened to that list. That list disintegrated into nothing. Nothing that was on my list before was on my list by the time I met my husband.
Wow.
And the number one thing on my list was, like Audra, I wanted a man who loved the Lord, but not just attended church. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to see his Christian walk. I
Mhm.
wanted it to be a part of his life, and I needed to see it. And I wanted someone who was generous because I'm generous. So that means that if we're together and we're married and somebody needs help and I want to help them, I don't want to fight over that. I want somebody
Mm,
who's already thinking about that too.
nice.
Family was important to me. The biggest thing for me with family is that his family needed to be okay with me, and my family needs to be okay with him,
Mhm.
because you don't just marry the person, you marry into a family.
Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
his mom is my mom. His dad is my dad. They're my, and I'm gonna take care of them just like they are my mom, my dad, if they need anything, and grandmother and so on. So that was really important. So generous, love the Lord. I need to see that walk. Um, and definitely want to be close to your family. The other two things on my list, they were kind of like, Lord, if they're there, that's great. But they don't have to be, because I wanted a happy marriage. So I wanted
Mhm.
him to be funny, like have some kind of like sense of humor, be able not be serious all the time, but know kind of when to balance that. I'm not quite sure. I feel like the Lord has a sense of humor because my husband is who he is, and I love him. And, somebody who wanted to build together, like had goals, knew where they were going in life, had a plan, was working on that. That was important to me too.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm not hearing anything about looks yet. And another thing the other thing I'm hearing is um it wasn't your list changed. So ladies, if you're single and your list is the same as it is that when you're 20, you I'm like maybe we need to change our lists.
Well,
I'm
Maya,
wondering. I'm wondering, like, because maybe you're attracting the same people because you have the same list. Mercy. Sorry, come.
I was gonna say it's not that looks are not on the list, but maybe it's just not as high on the list because you asked for the top 5. So you
Right?
definitely I wanna be attracted to whoever I date,
Mhm.
but it wasn't on the top because I feel like you can fall in love with the person if all the things are in the right place. You can fall in love with them.
Yeah, agreed. And I agree with the ladies here as well. And I think before I give, I didn't have a list necessarily, but part of the reason why I think things change is simply because as you are growing older, your requirements, your things change as well. So if your list is the same at 20 and 25 and 30 and whatever age you end up getting married, there that means maybe there's no growth for you. So therefore you're not looking for that person. Then you're going to find the 20 something year old, even if he's 40, he's behaving like he's 20 something year old, and when you wake up you're going to be like, what is wrong with this person? um, but I think what I was looking for, like the person, Howard, he had to have a calm demeanor. Like I feel like I'm a pretty calm and just laid back person. So I don't know that I would have handled somebody who was just like wild and all over the place and running here and there and just. So he had to be calm and he had to be sensible about the things that he was doing. And I think those are probably the two major things. And I'm pretty easygoing. I get along with just about anybody. So, not that every and anybody could please me, but as far as what I was looking for, I usually look for, okay, what is the good that you have to offer? That got me in trouble sometimes, just because it was just like, nonsensical people that I'm like, oh, but they have this to offer and they have that to offer. And then you look past some of the foolishness and then you're just like, well, why am I still here? But with Howard, it was just like, okay, I think quite a few things fell into place and it was just like, all right, yeah, we should be good together by God's grace. So.
Wow, I love it. I love it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add Rebecca. Rebecca, are you there? Are you there? You want to answer that question for me? Are you there? Are you there? Testing, testing. I guess her volume's not in. When you get in, let me know verbally.
Maybe
I
try
mean,
a different device.
Yeah.
yeah, she's gonna have to. Yeah, I think she doesn't have another device to do that. So
Hey Maya, can I add to something while we're waiting?
sure.
Um, one of the other things, when you said that looks, aren't in there, I will say another thing too that I found out was when you get to know somebody, sometimes they become attractive to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So not that they're not good looking or, and it could be somebody who's good looking and then you get to know them and they're no longer attractive to, attracted to you. But so I agree that looks are there and they're important. But I do think that sometimes when you meet somebody casually as a friend and then you get to know them, it can change.
Agreed.
Wow, wow, wow.
Absolutely.
All right, Miss Tiffany. All right, Miss Tiffany. All right, Miss Tiffany. You in agreement? Uh-huh. All right. So here's my next question. I'm loving these answers. These are eye-opening answers, ladies. Um, did you have hesitancy, not tendency. Did you have hesitancy with your husband? Like, did you have a
Yeah.
pause when choosing them? And if you did, how did you get past your pause? You understand my question? Yeah? Okay.
Yes. Okay, I'll go first. So by the time my husband met me is kind of loosely because we did not meet in person. I think last time you were on, he told you guys we met over the phone in a singles conference call. And during that time, I was happily single, not married to Jesus kind of single, but
Yeah,
just living my life and enjoying, going and doing my career was doing well. I was getting ready to buy a house. I was traveling, everything, things were going very well. I was just enjoying life and I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking. And I did not that's probably not all the way the truth, but I honestly wasn't realizing what his interest was. And when I finally figured out his interest, I was like, oh, wait, huh? Wait a minute. Let me look at you a little closer because I wasn't examining you that way. I was just having a friendship in my mind And that made me have to stop. And he's like, 6 miles ahead of me, 10 miles ahead of me, 100 miles ahead of me, and I'm just starting. So there was a lot of pause, because then I was like, wait, I have to look at you different. What are you? Who are you? Why are you so interested? uh and I guess, my husband, he's a real estate agent and broker, and that wasn't traditional. That gave me pause. I'm not used to entrepreneurial or type, I'm an A type person. You go to work, you have a 401k, you have a salary, you go up. I'm like, I don't understand this. So that gave me pause. Um, and then his sense of humor. He has one, but it wasn't funny at first. I just did not find him funny.
Right.
So that gave me pause too. I was like, Lord, what is this? Again, these are things that we work through, but those were the two things that gave me pause, and it took me getting to know him and understanding what he does, how that actually. I mean, he does very well. He's been doing it for 17 years. So it's like, oh, okay, and also his funny finally came around. It actually became funny. So
Right.
my two pauses went away, but that's what gave me pause.
Okay, so you grew into it, and the riskiness of his job, you were like, but you just trusted in that over time, I guess.
Oh, it took time because I had to see it. I had to understand it. I didn't know anything about real estate, brokers, investments, and all of this. And I was like, okay, I believe that when you're with somebody and they have a passion for something, you need to at least try to understand it, even if you don't necessarily like it, because that's a big part of who they are. So
Yeah.
I was like, I have to at least understand this. And when I started understanding that he was helping people, this was his generosity. He did so much for people. And I was seeing how he included his relationship with God and how he did his work. He prayed with his clients. He would go above and beyond for them. And I was just like, oh, so I got to see so much in how he did his work. That definitely brought my pause went all the way away because I got to see his relationship with God in action. And
Through his
that
work.
was pretty
Wow.
amazing.
Wow,
Nice.
wow, wow, wow,
Mm,
wow.
nice.
Wow. Okay. Anybody else? Did you have hesitancy in what, pause, and what made you overpower it?
Oh, I did. But mine, it might be a little bit different. So I didn't know Ivan, but I had seen him before. And when I saw him, he was married. So when he spoke to me, I'm like, what's up with this guy? And so, um, and then that's actually what I said to him. We were talking or whatever, and I said, "Aren't you married?" And he's
Mm.
like, "Well, unfortunately, we're no longer together." So initially, I was like, you know, I don't know, but then that kind of cleared it up, and we didn't talk really for a little while after that. Um, And then I'll say, as I got to know him, he was social, some of the things we talked about. And so then it just started getting better. And then I did have another little pause again. Um, and I'm the type of person that when I pray, I'm like, Lord, I need this to be crystal clear. I need, the something to happen,
Mm.
exactly. And I usually say, exactly what it is. And I can't remember if he shared this, but um I prayed and I said, Lord, if this is the man for me. It was a Friday night. And I said, people have said different things because he was married, like maybe you shouldn't have been, be with him, or whatever. But I enjoyed being with him, our time together. It's not like they were still together, he was free. And so one night I said, Lord, tomorrow when I go to church, please, just, I don't know where it'll come from, but have somebody mention the name Hosea from the Bible. And that's exactly what I said. I said, just mention the name Hosea. And that is going to be my sign that this is good. you know.
Okay.
And I went to church the next day, and the sermon was on the story of Hosea.
Right.
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
And so
Wow.
then I didn't have any issues for real after that, because it was just what I asked for,
Right.
and he just showed me.
Wow,
Wow.
that's powerful what you're saying. And what I'm hearing is you asked the Lord for direction. And there's so many people who are hesitant to marry divorcees. That's just, you know, and what you should do is I'm hearing from Audra, take it to the Lord in prayer.
Yeah.
And
And
amen.
see, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, Simone.
Yes, yes, I had pause with Howard. And our story is a little bit different because we've known each other for a long time. We met in high school, actually, but didn't date. You know, he was on the boys track team, I was on the girls track team. Just always, hung out here and there. So I got to know him prior to. But by the time he circled back around and we were ready to, start dating or looking at one another, besides friendship, he had just gone through like a rough dating relationship breakup, and he was still having some struggles there. So that was my pause as to whether or not it makes sense to kind of, because you, like you said, when you marry the person, you don't only marry them, you marry their family, you marry also their baggage, whatever they've gone through, you marry that as well. So I had to decide whether or not I was willing to still walk with him through that if he's still going through stuff after we're married. Um, and that I didn't know. I didn't know whether or not he'd be, completely over it or just, be good. Once we're married, everything is all hunky dory. I didn't expect the hunky dory part because I'm like, it's life, and all types of curveball gets thrown at you. But I think what got me past the pause was the fact that I knew him, and I knew him before he was going through the stuff. And therefore, I figured once the Lord walks with him through this, which he was allowing the Lord to do, it took some time, but he was allowing the Lord to do that. So once he got to the other side, by God's grace, he'll be better than what he was beforehand. So
Amen.
that was my
Mm.
Amen.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm hearing some deep pauses. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it takes ladies out there, it takes a lot of like sincere thought about whether you want to go forward. You can't just go forward. So, but you push
yeah.
through. Did everybody? Connie, your turn. Did you ever? Did you go?
I did not, but I'm going to break the chain of what we've been hearing because I did not pause. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because I had been waiting. Okay. And I had already talked to God. Um, I had been through dating and relationships. And even though I've had really bad breakups, I believe in love. I was like, okay, the next one could be it. I really
Wow.
wasn't afraid of jumping in. And I honestly didn't have a pause. I had talked to God. I stopped dating for a while. And I was like, Lord, you're going to send someone. It has to be who you want me to marry. It has to be someone who's not going to waste my time and I'm not going to waste their time. And I was like, let's go. It was a blind date and it was on the phone as well because we were not in the same city. And I was like, okay, God obviously is sending to him to me. And that's where, I mean, I had big faith, ladies.
Wow. 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 Wow.
And even though I was really hurt because the relationship right before Sean, I thought I was getting married. Okay. My friends on the line will let you know. And I really thought I was getting married and I didn't. And I was devastated. But I was like, okay, what's next? Because the next one's probably going to be better. And it was absolutely better. It's the man of my dreams. He really is.
Yay.
Oh,
Ooh, yay!
Yeah.
Yay! Like, listen, ladies, jump in. I'm hearing jump in, jump in. No pause. You don't have to have a pause all the time.
But I
Rebecca,
talked to God. I mean, I talked to God. So I was like, it must be it. If God is going to set me up, then maybe this is it. I wasn't afraid to try.
yes.
wow,
And I want
wow.
to add to that, Maya, if it's okay. definitely talk to God, because I remember praying before I stopped being one looking. I told the
Mhm.
Lord that I wanted someone who, I was always the one that would pray with the person. I wanted somebody who would kind of be that person that would take the lead. And I remember the first conversation I had with Brandon, he stopped in the middle of our conversation and says, "Hey, do you mind if we just pray before we keep talking?"
Wow.
And the thing is, right then, it was like the Lord brought to my remembrance, remember that prayer you prayed? I'm thinking, Lord, that was like 4 years ago. I mean, that doesn't count.
Wow, it
Pray,
counts.
Nice.
pray
It
and
And,
talk
counts.
to God. It counted. It counted. God
It
showed up.
counts.
and
Rebecca, are
know,
you in? Testing, testing. Rebecca, are you in? Rebecca's still not in. I'm sorry, Rebecca.
and Maya, I just, just in talking, since we're talking, and this is for me. So I will put that disclaimer on. This was for me. So I had dated outside of the church
Mm,
prior to, Ivan. And although we would, we might have a good time, and the list, was being checked off, funny, like to travel, enjoy, I always came back to the church.
Mm.
And so that was a huge piece that for me was missing, and let me know that um I couldn't be without that.
Mm.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Audra, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you on that. And
Yeah.
I remember it seems like after every relationship like that, I found myself in this place away from God. Like I wasn't praying like I had been before. I
Mm.
wasn't studying like I had been before. I was missing things at church and outreach and different things. And every time I would end this relationship, I'd be like, Lord, it's me again. I keep ending up so far away from you at the end of every relationship. And I'm so tired of that. I don't want to do that anymore. And I think you have to get to that place where God is more important and so important, and that
Mhm.
relationship is so important that it really affects who you allow to be romantically interested in you and that you allow to pursue you.
Mm. Absolutely.
Wow, wow, wow. Lord, it's me again. Hey, ladies out there, you ever pray that prayer before? Lord, it's me again.
Mhm.
All right. So, this is a question right here. Did you have to change? I'm trying to get Rebecca in. Rebecca, you in? Testing. Still not in. It's your mic. Something's up with your mic. Did you have to change?
I
And
can go
what?
first.
What did you change?
As you probably heard when Howard spoke, he said that I tended to do a lot of things for myself, by myself. It was just one of those things. And by the time we got married, I was 30 something, 32, 3 ish. So I was used to doing things for myself, and I was used to doing things by myself. I had, gone to school. I went away to school. I didn't, stay home. So I had to figure things out. So I had to change that. I had to allow Howard to do something or things for me, and just allow him to be the man and to do what he, to do the things that needed to be done, regardless of what it is that he and like to do. And I feel like it was for me to a certain extent it was okay to do that because I knew if he dropped the ball I could do it myself anyway. But I had to allow him to
Try.
to do that. No, he did willing to let go and let him.
Yeah.
That's a sentence for the Lord, but to let go and
Yeah.
allow him to be Howard Simone's husband and not just be there. So
Wow.
that's one thing that I had to change.
Wow.
Yeah. I,
Wow.
I kind of, and I kind of agree with that because, um, it was like, of course God is there, but I was plan A, you know what I mean? And so if you weren't doing it, that's good because plan A still had things
You're right.
lined up, lined up to go. So, then it was like, okay, I can let you be A, but I'll be B. So if you're not stepping up, I got that backup plan, you know. So that is definitely a mindset and an adjustment, you know.
Wow.
And also, you know, just there are things that I like to do that Ivan doesn't like to do, and I had to kind of decide. So this would be like your little petty thing, and I can't remember if he spoke about it or not, but Ivan hates the dishes. Ivan hates to wash dishes. And so I like the kitchen to be clean. So when I clean the kitchen, I want to clean the kitchen, go to bed, wake up to a nice, clean kitchen. And so I've been, you know, after a while, I got him to agree to do dishes a couple of nights a week. So that was a change for him. However, the change for me is he might not do them till the second night. And so, so I had to think, okay, Audra, you can do dishes every single day, or you're going to get over it and let one night go, one or two night go without the dishes. You know, and that was really hard. And we would argue about it because I'd be like, why are the dishes in the sink? And it's, you know, it's bedtime.
It's
And
bedtime.
then
It's Tuesday. It's the next day. You still see dishes in the sink.
exactly,
Ah!
exactly, you know, and the thing is, when you are single, you think you're easy, you know, you just, because what you do is simple, you know, things get covered. But when you bring somebody else in, now you have to make an adjustment, because what's easy to you or common sense to you is not to that person.
Absolutely.
And you are easy, Audra. You're
But,
easy to you.
yeah, yeah, right.
But
Audra,
anal to somebody else, you know, like, oh my God, do you have to wash dishes every day, every night, clean down the sink, wipe down the sink, make sure there's no water on the
That's
counter? Like,
right.
there's some people like that are that, you know, and in order to be married to somebody who may not be that much, it will take a whew, it will
Yeah,
take an
we
adjustment.
compromise though. He does have
Yeah,
to do the countertops, and you know, I let the sink sit a couple of nights.
compromise. Big word. Big word. Connie,
yes,
did you
I
have a
like
change?
Audra took my word because I was gonna say that it really wasn't a change but an adjustment, because I came from my parents' house to marriage, right? So even though I was older, I mean, I never lived with a man other than my dad, you know? And so I feel it was just an adjustment getting used to this new life. And I think adjusted again when I became a mom, you know? But I will say the change I can think of is things when I was single that I said I would absolutely not tolerate, that I would absolutely not be okay with. That definitely changed.
Give me some examples
Mm.
Oh my.
that you can.
Um,
Keep in mind, this is going to be public. So,
yeah, I don't know if I can give an example, but
Okay. You don't have to give an example.
what I will say is, I think when we're single, even if you've been dating, you look at your parents, you look at other people in your family, your aunts, and you're like, I would never tolerate that. I would never do that. I would never be okay with that. And as you get older, I read somewhere that we start to see our parents as people, not just as our parents.
Mhm.
And we start to understand, like, this is why mommy didn't say anything,
Right.
or did I become mommy? You know, I become that. So I feel there are changes that even I think we mature during the marriage that we're like, okay, I would say, I'm going to say cheating. Sean has not cheated, but say even that. I said, "Oh, if somebody cheated on me, I'm getting divorced. That is not okay." And now that I'm married, even when we were dating, I'm like, I wouldn't leave someone just because they cheated. I mean, I hope not to have that happen, but I know life is just not like that. If we've been married for 15 years and something happens, I don't think I'm throwing my marriage away because something happened. So that's a very big example, but there's small ones too that okay, what I thought I would
You would be
absolutely not
tolerated.
do, things do change when you get married because now I not just that I'm invested, I'm absolutely in love and I want this to work. You know, that was probably the most extreme example, but you know, there's smaller ones too. But so I think for the most part, I adjust, but I do change because I'm not that single person. I have a different mindset. I know what commitment means and feels like. So I think I changed in some of those dogmatic ways that were like, no, that you thought you were going to be so absolute about. That marriage and relationship can change that for the good, I think.
For sure. And you're right. Single women, we can be a little bit dogmatic. Like, I will not tolerate this, or I would not tolerate that, or I would not tolerate this, and you just don't know what you would and would not do. And that comes with life in general. When you're younger versus
Yeah,
older, when you're younger, you say, I would not tolerate this. And then when you get older,
absolutely.
you realize, it's just you don't understand until you get there.
That's
You
right.
you never can you never say that. Yeah. Was it difficult to talk less and listen more? That's a good question.
Not
Who
for
said
me. I'm a natural listener, so for me, no. But I've definitely talked more now since I've been married.
you talk more? You talk more. Sophie,
Yes.
Sophie,
Yes.
did you have to change?
Yes. That's a short answer. I think one of the biggest things that you change is you learn to pick your battles. Um, it's you realize that everything doesn't have to be fought over. Everything doesn't have to be your way. I think somehow in our mind sometimes we just think we do everything that makes logical sense. At least for me, I'm a logical person. It just makes sense for this to go this way. And I stop expecting my husband to think the way that I thought.
Mhm,
My
mhm.
husband is spontaneous. I am a spontaneous planner. And so that, of course, is sometimes a train wreck. Um,
Mhm.
so what I learned is I had to compliment my husband. My husband wants to do something. He wants to do all whatever. I know he's going to forget the details. Instead of getting upset over how come you didn't think about this and why didn't you da 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 da, it's like, okay, he's not going to do it. All right, let me make sure that I call ahead. Let me make sure da 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 da. Put this in place. Get that in place. We'll be going down the road, and he'll say, "Oh," I'll be like, "What? Nothing." I'll be like, "Okay, but what?" Well, I forgot. I don't think I needed to do such and such. Oh, it's okay. I did it already. Like that's what changed. I stopped getting upset over those things and stopped
Wow.
getting all like riled up. And I learned to compliment my husband. There were times when he would do things that would drive me batty. I learned to go in the kitchen and start praying and talking to God and be like, Lord, I'm sure I've done something along these lines that makes you crazy. I don't know how you deal with me, but help me to deal with my husband the way you deal with me. Because right now, there's pans in here and there are a lot of things in here. I probably shouldn't be in here. Maybe next time I'll go to the bedroom because there's way too much metal in here. But I learned to talk to God and realize that He was going to have to work in me to change me to love my husband. And that if I fought that, I wouldn't become who God wants me to be and love unconditionally the way God expects me to be, to love my husband through the disagreements and
Amen.
where you put the stuff. And I mean, there are petty things, Audra and Connie and Simone. Like I remember when I got married, we moved into his bachelor pad. So he still was single minded
Yep.
and ownership minded. So I wanted to put the dry towels in the kitchen next to the sink. I found a great place. And when I tell you it turned into Hiroshima, why did he move the towels? He wanted to keep them in the bedroom in the closet where the clothes were. And I just thought, okay, that makes no sense. Why do you want to keep it there? But I learned, okay, you know what? It's an adjustment for him too. He's always kept
Mhm.
them there. And now here I come and I'm moving it and it's a transition period for him to become understanding. So yes, I changed, but not on my own. I'm telling you, God helps you to make those changes
Yeah.
and realize that you love that man. You married him because you
I
love him,
know.
not because he cared about where the towels were. So just let it go.
Wow, wow. Y'all are dropping some serious gems tonight. And I love what you said about some things are just never going to change. That's their weakness, and you're there to complement
Yeah.
their weakness, your strength. And so just be who you are instead of trying to make them into you. Just be who you are and not be mad that they haven't become you. They're never going to become you.
They're never gonna
Never.
become.
You don't
They
want them
never.
to become
So
you.
like, all
No,
right,
right.
listen to the wives, lady. I mean, we're
And
talking. 5 to 19 years of marriage up in this piece. Go ahead, Audra.
And I was going to say, I think that's so important because that was one of the other things, a decision that I had made, before I met Ivan, was that I was also going to kind of be me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that, so often, you meet somebody and everybody's just so nice. And then the truth starts to come out. And it was like, you know what? I'm going to be me, and I'm not going to if there's something I like to do and he doesn't want to do it, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to be me so that he can really see who I am. I'm not going to,
Beautiful.
hide anything. And, as you get older, some things are just black and white, like you said, when you don't understand. And then you get older and you realize there's a gray line in there.
Mhm.
There's a little gray.
There is a great line. Let's see if Rebecca's in. Rebecca, are you in? Talk
Oh,
to me. Nope, she's not in yet. Sorry.
And I would like to say as well, I think the beauty of being married to a husband who serves the Lord is that you can, like, sorry, it was Shauna? Is that her name?
Sophia.
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 Sorry,
Yeah.
don't ask me where I got Shauna from. Um, what that Sophia said is that you can talk to the Lord about them. And I've had similar experiences where it was just like, I don't get where you're going with this. I don't even know why we're arguing about this. And we're
Mhm.
not arguers in general. He's the type, he's just like, he's not gonna fight and fuss over anything. And generally I'm not, but I used to be the one who's just, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm going to say something and it's going to hurt your feelings and it's not going to be nice. Then I'm going to have to go apologize. And I don't like apologizing. So I try to stay away from that. But I can go to the Lord and I can be like, Lord, what is wrong with him? And the Lord is just like, actually, it's not him, it's you.
Mhm.
You
Wow.
know, so but the I think that's just one of the beautiful things of having someone who serves God and who listens to God, because he can
Mm.
call himself a Christian all he wants to, but if you're talking and it's not a three-way, all three of you in this thing, and he's like, you know, doing his own thing, not listening to what the Lord has to say, then it's going to defeat the purpose in that relationship. But having that person who's willing to hear what God says, and however he comes to the conclusion that he did something incorrect, is okay. Let the Lord talk to him, let the Lord deal with him, but having that ability to be able to say, Lord, this just is not gelling well, and what needs to be done to make sure that it's working as it should, I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I learned that from Power of a Praying Wife. Because
Yes,
if you keep telling, if you, that's a book, y'all.
that's
That's
a
a good
great
book to
book.
read.
Mhm.
If you keep telling them what the problem is over and over and over, they're going to perceive that as nagging. But if you talk to God, you could never nag God. You talk to God about it. And if you marry a man who hears God, God will speak to them for you. That's
That's
I've always learned that. But you got to marry a man who hears God, because that's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important, and for me, as many of you, like, just being unequally yoked is just not, it's not that easy. Um
I just want to add to what Audra said. I loved about being herself and
yes.
being authentically yourself, because we all can attest, we date someone, and of course, on the first date, you're not trying to show everything. You take your time. But I feel and I see in relationships where, like you said, I do everything he likes, or he doesn't like this, so I don't bother. And that turns into resentment. And then you
Mhm.
guys are arguing, and you don't even know why you're arguing, because you don't even, like, you better like who you marry. Like, people feel like, I just love him. I just love him, right? But you better actually like him, because you can be yourself. You can sing out loud together. He gets your jokes, or he think, babe, that's not whatever. But I mean, when you still have that dating aura, right? And then you continue to put yourself in a shell because, oh, he won't like that, or maybe his mom doesn't think that, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I think that you build that up, and you really are not having fun. You really just not being your authentic self. I love that she said that, because that's how I felt when I was dating him. And you know that you've been in those relationships where you just were you presenting what you think they want to see, whether that's
Yeah.
I'm a Christian woman. Okay, I like dancehall music too. So I had to be true to that. And I didn't want him to think that I was just Ellen White's nephew only, because I love Ellen White, but I loved other things too. But if I
Listen,
only present
Sanchez,
that,
shout out to Sanchez, dancehall, reggae, reggae music. All right, go ahead.
right, but if I only presented that, I mean, I would
Right.
never really, and I just love that she said that. I didn't have that vocabulary, Audra, so thank you. That I just be yourself. I wanted to
Yeah.
show that this is me. So I
This is
hope you like all of it, but I wanted to show this is
I'm
me.
not hiding it. No mask, no
right.
representatives. No mask, no representatives, lady. Be
Mhm.
yourself. Love it, love it. So you all are professional women. Feel free to share what you do for a living if you want to. Was it hard to find a partner? Because nowadays, they're saying that educated black women can't get a man because they're too independent. They whatever. Is that true? Did you have trouble?
I didn't. I want to say, I love this question. Let me look at my notes here. But my caveat is this is 20 years ago. So I want to
Mhm.
say no, at the time, I don't think it was. I mean, I grew up in Miami, and I think the dating pool was very good there. You had to be careful because you probably dated someone who already dated somebody from the other church, that type of thing. But I feel the dating pool was good then. And we were all going to school. We were all in AY together. So I feel 20 years ago, it wasn't hard. I don't know what to say now, but at the time, no. I think there was a lot of options to date. There was still a lot of foolishness,
Mhm.
and you were dating people that just really wasn't for you. But I think at the time, just for me, in the late 1990s, early 2000s, it wasn't hard. I won't say that it was that hard.
Okay. So no, not for Connie. Anybody else? Professional black women. Was it hard for as a
I
professional black woman?
I didn't have an issue. I guess now I will say it depends on the gentleman that's approaching you and if he's a gentleman. Um there are some people that that would they'll approach you at a gas station and they'll come talking to you, and so then you start asking them certain questions like, "Oh, okay, hi." I was always polite. I never
Yeah,
felt like you should be mean because someone had the guts to walk up to you
right.
and actually talk to you. That's
That's
hard.
not easy. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not easy. So I respect the fact that you actually made the effort to come and speak to me. So that means I'm going to be polite back. I'd say, "Hi, yeah, my name is Sophia. It's nice to meet you. What's your name? Okay, where are you from? What do you do?" And like, "Oh, I'm doing," and then that's when you start getting they're kind of sort of maybe doing the other thing that so you listen, and then they ask you, "Okay, so what do you do?" And then when I would
Heck!
Go
Oh
ahead,
my.
Sophie. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
okay. So then when I start saying what I would do, that's when I would see like they're looking for the escape. Like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. All
You're
right.
one of those. You want way too
Yes,
much.
they I don't know what they expected, but it's like, "Oh, you are." And what one of my friends, my really good friends, told me, he said, "Sophia, it's because you have marriage written on your forehead and you don't know
Mm.
it."
Yeah.
Wow.
Men recognize
Interesting.
when they meet marriage material. And
Wow.
when they're not interested in something that's beyond just kind of a little bit of time, they will try to escape so
Wow.
that they're not caught up in that. They know that you're going to have expectations of them by how you
Mm.
present yourself, how you're
Mhm.
talking. He's like, "It's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you are going to push away those who don't apply and draw those that do." And so
Mm.
that is something that is okay. It's okay
Yes.
for that to be that way. Now, my husband loves what I do. I'm an insight analyst. That just means that I take all of your raw data and I turn it into something that anybody can understand and do something with. So that's just a fancy way to say that. Um, but I've been an operations manager. I've run programs. I've done a whole lot of things. When my husband met me, I was a QA manager, and I mean running all kinds of things. But he loved that, and so it wasn't something that was like, "Oh no, okay, I need to find somebody less educated or less
Mhm.
whatever. We want to talk about the level, number of degrees. But I did get accepted to law school, so I'm in law school now. So whoop whoop.
Oh, congratulations.
So, but that is something he celebrates. It's not been something that has been a deterrent for the right people.
And find people who celebrate you, ladies.
That's
Find
right.
people who celebrate you. Who else? Did you have
Oh, you
issues?
know, oh, good.
What was the question again, Amaya?
You're a professional woman. Did you have issues finding a mate because of it?
Hmm.
Well, just while she's thinking, I'll say, I also think it's how kind of like their own self esteem, their own
Mm.
confidence. You know what I mean? Has something to do with it as well. Because you're looking for somebody with a good work ethic, and just like you said, the education route. I have friends that it really wasn't for them, but they're successful in what they do.
Yeah.
you know and so that I think uh is just also something to consider. Now my parents didn't quite understand that because everything was, they were just like, you're educated. That everything was education to them. That was for us and my siblings. They wanted us to be educated. Um and I'm not saying that it's not important, so don't get me
Right,
wrong, but I
right.
am saying that some people are educated with a trade and they're doing extremely well, even better than some people that are educated, but
Debt
just kind of
free.
considering the work ethic of the person, along with their self-confidence.
I think the most important thing is that women don't try to bring themselves down so that they can meet the level of someone that they might be looking for or looking
Mhm.
at. Men have to accept us the way we are. I mean, we spent those 4, 6, 8 years doing what we wanted to do, and then we shouldn't be held accountable or put down or avoided. That a lot of times it's not our stuff; it's their stuff as far as accepting a certain woman on the level that they're on.
That's
Amen.
so powerful, and I've gotten to the place where you have to celebrate where you what you've done. Many people feel like many women, they get the degree in the hopes of finding the man. I'm going to break that myth today. Women, especially educated women, they get degrees because they're searching after their purpose. That's it. They're searching after their purpose, and if they're spiritual women, they're searching after their purpose in God. Period. So they're
Amen.
moving in their purpose. You can either join the train or not, but don't make it seem that they've neglected you for this education. Many times, I know I can speak for me. We've moved in our purpose. Join the train or not. I think Simone, you're next. Did you have trouble finding someone?
Um, I would say no. And like I said, for us, it was a little bit different because I knew him from, so long ago. And I did just that. I kind of, this is what I want to do. I'm a dentist and I wanted to go to dental school. I wanted to go ahead and, figure out how to help people with their teeth. And that was outside of looking for someone to marry. I don't think I looked too hard. I think kind of Howard probably looked more so from me. And if he had not been the one that was, searching and seeking for me, I probably would have just been going and doing what I'm doing. I feel like the Lord had to put the person in my way
Mm.
because I was just like, okay, I'm doing this. And, I probably would just kept going, doing all the things that I wanted to do and just be okay. I wasn't one of those persons that had, I'm gonna get married this time, I'm gonna have this type of wedding, I'm gonna have this type of house, I'm gonna have, it was like, okay, well, Lord, what's next? What am I doing next? And it
Mm.
just so happened that at that time it was just Howard is next.
Right.
So, he just fell in line with the other things that came along. So no, I don't think it was tough. But definitely nowadays, I think things might be a little bit different, just because
Mhm.
hearing my friends, younger and not so much older, but probably a little bit younger and my age, just the things that they go through with dating and so forth. I'm just like, I don't envy you.
Don't envy us. Don't envy us. What last question, and I'm gonna come back to you with the first, Rebecca.
Okay.
What advice would you give men who'd like a wife like you? Beautiful, educated, stable, and all kinds of other adjectives. What advice would you give men
Hmm.
that would like a wife and like a wife like you? Cricket, 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 cricket.
Yes, I know, right?
Men don't like advice. They gotta get their women.
You know it's so true. Anyway, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. But well, let's say they would. Let's say they would hear you out. What would you tell a young man maybe?
Well, have
I
a prayer life. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I
No,
interrupted
go for
somebody.
it. Go for it. Go ahead, Sophia.
Develop your relationship with God and find your purpose in what He would have you to do for your life. Because if you're and when you're dating, be marriage minded. Don't as just be marriage minded when you decide that you're going to be interested in people. Make friendships, get to know people.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you not to get to know the opposite sex or even take someone out, but be clear about your intentions and have be marriage minded by the time you're ready to entertain that level, because you'll leave a lot of broken hearts behind. When you
Wow.
recognize that this is not it, say it sooner than later. Don't
Woo!
I know it's hard, but it's much easier. I know this gonna sound really weird, but it's better to tell her on day 2 than 6 months, a year down the road, because those feelings build. So the sooner you know, the sooner you need to break her heart so that she can heal and be able to move on. The sooner you break her heart, the quicker she heals, the sooner she can move forward. And remember that when you're entertaining these young ladies, not only are they the children of God and God is watching how you're treating them, but they're somebody's sister, there's somebody's child, there's somebody's granddaughters, and more importantly, there's somebody's future wife. So, however you would like your wife to come to you, give the same courtesy to that gentleman, how he would like his wife to come to him. So, take that as I mean it. Keep her as untouched as possible.
I love that. Sophia,
Oh, I
I
dropped the
had
mic.
I had nothing to say. That was
Just fire
I
that was
everywhere.
know. I
Gunshots
love the marriage
everywhere.
minded.
Like,
I love it. Be ready. I love that Sophia said be marriage minded. I didn't even have that vocabulary. I got two new vocabulary. Thank you. But I love that because I think, maybe guys don't intend to have a stream of broken hearts, but there's a time when we all feel like we're ready. And I love that. Don't come playing games, because I think the women we're tired of the games. We don't want to be heartbroken if you knew it wasn't me, or you tested me and Sophia at the same time. Like, sometimes we're ready and the guy we're dating is just not ready. They're just not where we are. And I love be marriage minded and be honest to that own self, be true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please just be honest with these ladies. And it's okay to say things are not working out, because that's what happened to me before I met Sean. He was like, and you know what? I never got, closure is not a real thing, they say, and that's okay. But, even if you're not sure, but you know that you don't want to move forward, let her know. Just be honest. She'll be fine. She'll get over it. She'll find the right person, like Sophia said. But stop
Wow.
with the games. That's what I say. Stop with the games.
Yeah.
Stop with the
I agree
game.
with all of that. I love the marriage minded,
Yes.
and I think, be honest, that's the other thing I would say. And um, decide when it's going to be, honest about the good, bad, and the ugly, because it may be easier for me to accept the ugly from you than from the rumor mill, or from other people, because it's presented in such a different way. Um, And so, you have to find the right time. But that's one of the things is be honest and be upfront. So even, when I was sharing with Ivan, people did say things to me, but I already knew them because Ivan had already told me.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's
another thing too
that's
about
key.
friends though is sometimes if you talk to the very close family and friends of the person that you're interested in, they can give you a little bit of insight as
Yeah.
to, how to approach that person,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay.
And I think Sophia alluded to this earlier when she talks about the person at the gas station. I think you have to be willing to say something. If you're sitting over there and you're like, "Oh, she's cool. I'd really," and you don't say anything, we
Mhm.
can't know. So you have to be willing to speak up. Yes, every now and then you may get that person that just keeps stepping in their high heels and don't respond, but if it's the right person, and that's the person that the Lord is putting in your way, so agree that you need to be praying, and you also need to be doing what the Lord is calling you to do, figuring out your purpose, figuring out who you are, making sure that you're walking according to what He has you doing. But just go over and say something. The worst
Approach the girl.
approach the girl. The worst she can be like is just like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not interested. And ask the Lord to guard your heart. So if you think it might just be like, she might not be interested, just be like, okay, Lord, guard my heart. I'm gonna go say hey. And if she keeps stepping, the Lord has guarded your heart because you asked. But if you don't say anything, nobody can help you.
And say a little bit more than "hey," because a lot of the
Yes,
times I'm not married, guys, but
yes.
there's a lot of "heys," I call them the hoverers, "Hi, hi, hi, hi." Land that plane, guys. Land that plane. Ask the girl out on a date. Like, don't am I wrong? Am I wrong, ladies? Those who are
No.
married?
No.
No,
Guys
No.
but
sometimes
Maya,
guys do hi, 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 and they don't really make the descent to me. Talk to me. Talk to me, Audra. Go ahead. Tell me.
yeah, but Maya, I would like to add that sometimes you have to say something yourself. We have a friend that's married, but she asked him out. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, non-traditional, although we're, younger, but still non-traditional, but she did. And then they got to know each other. So that's one thing I would say, is that you can, if it's the right person, you can ask them. And just like you may not want to hear no, we're saying they don't want to hear no, you may not want to hear no, but that's one thing that I think that some women could do, just like you said, engage in that conversation and ask them. And
Like Rebecca said, is this your church?
Is this your
Yeah,
church?
I know. That's how I started talking with Daniel. And I mean, he looked like a nice, looking guy. And I was sitting next to him in church in the back. I got there late and I didn't know who the pastor was. And I just, leaned over to him and said, "Is this your pastor?" Now he says that I picked him up in church, but that, that's his.
and
That
I
was,
was not talking about Rebecca when I said
I honestly, that's how it started. I asked him, "Is this your pastor?"
Oh, so he said, is this your pastor? Not is this your okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay, okay. Who
Listen,
didn't ask the question? What advice would you give men who'd like a wife? I think everybody's answered that question, right? All right. Rebecca, did you have a list?
You know what? I did not have a list as much as I had preferences.
Okay.
I wanted him to be an Adventist that loved the Lord because they don't always go together.
Hmm.
And so I wanted him to love the Lord. I wanted him to have a job. I wanted him to, I watched how he interacted with his family and especially his
Mhm.
mom. Now he had a lot of sisters. So that was wonderful. That was fabulous because he was right in tune with me, as far as being a woman because he was around all those sisters. So they really, really did
Train
well.
him well.
Yes,
Train
they
him
did.
well.
Yes, they did. But I was listening to a radio program one time, and there was a young lady that called in, and I know some of you have heard this story from me. And she said to the guy, "I have 100 things that I want in a man." And the first question that he asked was, "What are the 100 things that you have to offer to him?" And he hung up. So, you know, I don't know about lists.
Wow.
Preferences, yeah. Lists,
Okay, okay. So that's a like
I like
preferences, yes, but you're not really a fan of the list. And if you had a list or preferences, they're much different now than they were uh when you were younger. That's
yeah, yeah.
powerful. Did you have hesitancy with that? Did you like
Um, I did because he's a little bit younger than me.
what?
But I talked to a relative of his, and she told me, Rebecca, women have it all wrong. Women marry men that are older than them, and they end up taking care of them. We have to rethink our thinking and go with someone who's a little bit younger so that we can grow old with them.
Amen.
Woo!
Listen, I
Okay.
love that, Rebecca. I
Yeah.
always tease Sean.
Mm.
I'm 5 years older than Sean. And when he lets people know that in public, he goes, "Oh, when I was in first grade, she was in fifth grade." You know, he likes to make all those jokes, but he'll be pushing my wheelchair, and I have no problem with that. And I tell him, since women are living longer than men, if
That's
he
right.
meets an untimely demise, then I'll probably remarry because we're still living longer.
So we got
I'm
2
just
women
saying.
out of the 5 who are older than their husbands.
I'm
Oh,
older,
Wow.
I'm
but
older
just
than my
not
husband
so
as
much.
well.
Simone is older too. Sophie,
See?
you're older too?
Yeah. I'm
What?
older than my husband, yes.
All right, ladies.
See,
Just
Yeah.
just
listen,
saying.
The
listen,
com
don't get it twisted, y'all. Don't let those men make you feel like you can't get younger, man. Watch it
Mm-mm.
now. Sugar wooga.
yeah,
Stop lying, Ivan.
the comedian is on.
Yeah, I know he's talking about you too.
Yes, I was
Get out of here, Ivan.
I
Wow.
just I know we probably have to go, but I have a friend and from childhood, and we were talking one time, and I was like, "What? We've known each other since we were 8," and so ever since then, I've because he's older than me, but we all grew up on the same street in the Bronx, and I was like, "I knew you were older than me. I just knew it." It's like
You
I'm
didn't
not
tell him?
older than you.
I thought you didn't have any masks, Audra.
I did not. I know, right? I didn't have any mask. I'm like, there's no way I could have known him that, my friends were that long. And ever since then, I was like, yeah, I know what the birth certificate says. I know what the passport says, but I know you're old.
That is amazing. Listen, ditch the okay, this is what I've got. This is what I got. Oh, I actually one more question for Beck.
Hmm.
Uh did you have to change? And then I'm gonna finally get the gist of what I got from you ladies, which has been a great interview by the way. Go ahead.
I did a little because I'm really not I'm an introvert and Daniel is an extrovert. So I had to learn how to go along with him because when we first started going to church after service, Daniel would be talking to the crowd and stopping and spending time, and I would kind of like be hanging behind him, and he would try to bring me up. I just felt uncomfortable with that, so a lot of times I would go to the car and wait for him to finish, which would be about a half hour, sometimes 45 minutes, but that's the one thing that I've had to kind of push myself to do is to become a little bit more not necessarily social, but stay with him as opposed to walking away.
Got it.
Hmm.
Got it. Ladies, this has been an awesome interview. These ladies are shy. Just like they're many of them are introverts, and I'm just so grateful that you guys agreed to do this interview. This is what I've learned from you guys. I've learned to ditch the list, have preferences. It's okay, but if you or at least modify the list. Modify the list. It can't be the same list that you had when you were younger, right? Um, looks is not on the top 5. I've heard that. It shouldn't be on the top 5. It could be up there, but not the top 5. Um, I've learned adjust, be yourself,
Yeah.
Date younger. And I'm just playing. I ain't here. I've learned adjust, be yourself. I think that's the major thing I can
Marriage
that's
Be
minded.
yeah, be
oh,
open to younger.
in terms of men, choose men that are marriage minded.
Mhm.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rebecca. You wanted to say something?
Just be open to younger.
Yeah.
Be open. Period.
Mhm.
It seems like I'm hearing be open. Don't you don't continue with um what you just think should be. Like this is how it's
That's
gonna
right.
be. You just have to just be open. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Moan. This is the names for them. I know most of them. Moan, Sugar Wooga. What's your nickname, Beck? I think it's Beck.
Back.
Connie, do you have a I think it's Connie, just Connie.
Connie.
Yeah. And Boo, my boo thing. My boo thing. Thank you, ladies, so much for being a part of this. It's been absolutely everybody's saying absolutely amazing, all the way amazing. I am the phenomenal STEMist. Listen, I do want to just do some homework. Remember, my book is on Amazon now. Feel free to check it out.
Yay.
Go to my website, www.phenomenalstemist. You can get a direct link to there as well as other STEM camps. You guys have a great night. Ladies, stay on for a second as I end this stream. Good night, everybody. Just wave to the camera.